The impossible victory. They're coming. Commander Eva Chen's words hung in the air of the Outpost Artemis Command Center. The holographic display before her showed the approaching Morcari fleet, 12 massive warships cutting through space with singular purpose. The countdown timer in the corner of the display showed just under 6 hours until they reached the human colony. How many survived the jump? Asked Admiral Takahashi, his weathered face grim in the blue light of the hologram. 67% of my crew, Chen replied, the number still painful to acknowledge. The Pathfinder is beyond repair, but we salvaged what we could. Weapons, shield generators, the jump drive. It had been 3 weeks since their disastrous encounter with the Morcari. 3 weeks of frantic preparation, of converting mining vessels into warships, of evacuating non-essential personnel from the colony. But it wasn't enough. It would never be enough against what was coming. The last evacuation transports left an hour ago, Takahashi informed her. Everyone remaining is either military or volunteered to stay and fight. Chen nodded, studying the strategy table. Outpost Artemis had never been designed as a military installation. It was a mining colony, established to harvest the rich mineral deposits in the system's asteroid belt. Now it would become the front line in humanity's first interstellar war. The intelligence we extracted from the beacon has been partially translated, reported Dr. Sato, who had survived the Pathfinder's escape. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes from weeks without proper rest. The Morcari are a predatory species that evolved as apex hunters. They view all other sentient life as prey, and they've exterminated at least 7 other spacefaring civilizations that we know of. So negotiation is off the table, Chen concluded. They don't negotiate with food, Seto confirmed grimly. Chen turned to the assembled officers, the remnants of her crew, and the outpost's security forces. They were outnumbered, outgunned, facing an enemy with technology centuries beyond their own. By all logical assessment, they were already dead. But Chen had not survived 20 years in deep space exploration by accepting the impossible. We can't match them in firepower, she acknowledged, but we have advantages they don't expect. This is our system. We know every asteroid, every gravitational anomaly. And we have something the Morcari can't understand, human ingenuity. She activated the tactical display, showing the defensive positions they had established throughout the system. The Morcari fight like hunters, not soldiers. Their tactics are precise, overwhelming, but predictable. They target the strongest opposition first, eliminating threats in order of capability. They expect prey to flee or fight conventionally. A smile that held no humor crossed her face. So we'll do neither. The first Morcari ship entered the system exactly as predicted, its massive form dwarfing the automated sensor buoys that detected its arrival. 5 more followed in precise formation, their black hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light, making them seem like moving voids against the stars. The Morcari expected resistance. They expected the primitive humans to gather their ships in defense of their colony. What they found instead was emptiness. No defensive fleet, no immediate opposition, just silence. Sensors are tracking their approach, reported Lieutenant Kowalski from his station in the hidden command center, buried deep within the colony's largest asteroid. They're scanning the system, but moving directly toward the colony. Chen nodded, watching the enemy's progress on the holographic display. Status of all teams. Strike teams Alpha through Echo in position. Rodriguez confirmed. Mining charges are set throughout the asteroid field. Decoy fleet is powered down but ready to activate on your command. Chen took a deep breath. Everything they had prepared, every desperate measure and calculated risk, came down to the next few hours. The Morcari had never faced humans before. They didn't know what humanity was capable of when pushed to the brink. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Across the system, automated distress signals suddenly activated. Dozens of them, seemingly from damaged human ships scattered throughout the asteroid field. The signals were carefully designed to mimic the power signatures of crippled vessels with functioning life support, but disabled weapons. On the display, the Morcari fleet paused its advance. The 6 ships separated, breaking their tight formation to investigate the scattered signals. Just as Chen had hoped, the predatory instinct to hunt down weakened prey overrode their military discipline. "They're taking the bait," Rodriguez observed, a hint of surprise in his voice. "They think we're running scared, abandoning ships to escape," Chen replied. "They've never fought humans before. They don't know we don't abandon our own." The Morcari vessels moved deeper into the asteroid field, following the distress signals. Each signal led them further from their companions, isolating the massive warships among the tumbling rocks. "Morcari ship approaching Trap 1, reported Kowalski. 30 seconds to optimal position." Chen watched the countdown, her expression focused. "Stand by, mining team." When the timer reached 0, she gave a single nod. "Execute." Deep in the asteroid field, a series of mining charges detonated simultaneously. Not on the asteroids themselves, that would have been futile against the Morcari shields, but in precise locations calculated to alter the orbits of several massive asteroids. The floating mountains began to move, slowly at first, then with gathering momentum. The targeted Morcari ship detected the threat too late. As it attempted to maneuver away, a second series of charges detonated, launching a cloud of metallic mining debris directly into its path. The ship's shields flared as they deflected the smaller pieces, but the energy discharge left them vulnerable for just a fraction of a second, exactly as the largest asteroid made contact. The impact was catastrophic. The Morcari vessel's shields collapsed under the kinetic energy of the collision, and the asteroid tore through its hull like paper. Secondary explosions bloomed silently in the vacuum as the ship broke apart. "First blood to us," Rodriguez announced, a fierce satisfaction in his voice. But Chen wasn't celebrating. The other Morcari ships had immediately halted their advance, clearly reassessing the situation. "They'll adapt quickly," she warned. "Prepare Phase 2, and may God help us all." The Morcari response was swift and brutal. Having recognized the trap, the remaining ships regrouped and launched smaller attack craft, sleek, predatory vessels that darted through the asteroid field with frightening agility. "They're systematically destroying the distress beacons," Kowalski reported, "and they're scanning for explosive residue. They're tracking the mining charges back to their source." Chen had expected this. "Activate the decoy fleet. Let's give them something else to think about." Throughout the asteroid field, 50 converted mining vessels powered up. They were hardly warships, hastily equipped with salvaged weapons and minimal shields, but they projected power signatures that mimicked military vessels. The decoy fleet emerged from hiding places among the asteroids, appearing to converge for a coordinated attack. The Morcari attack craft immediately changed course, moving to intercept this new threat. "They're targeting the decoys," Rodriguez confirmed. "Automated systems are returning fire, but it won't fool them for long." "It doesn't need to," Chen replied. "Just long enough." While the Morcari focused on the decoy fleet, the real strike began. 3 modified cargo ships, their holds filled with nothing but jump drives salvaged from damaged vessels, activated simultaneously. The massive energy discharge created overlapping spatial distortions throughout the area where the Morcari fleet had regrouped. Space itself seemed to warp and buckle. 2 more Morcari vessels, caught in the distortion, were torn apart as conflicting gravitational forces pulled them in multiple directions at once. A third escaped destruction but listed badly, its systems clearly damaged by the spatial anomalies. But the victory came at a tremendous cost. The cargo ships and their volunteer crews were destroyed in the process, the unstable jump fields consuming them as completely as they had the enemy vessels. Chen closed her eyes briefly, honoring their sacrifice. Status of remaining enemy forces. 3 primary warships remain operational, Kowalski answered, his voice tight. "They've destroyed most of the decoy fleet and are regrouping. They'll reach the colony in 15 minutes. And our reserves," Rodriguez hesitated before answering. Strike Teams Bravo and Delta are completely gone. We have 12 combat-capable ships remaining, plus the defense platforms around the colony itself. It wasn't enough. Everyone in the command center knew it. But Chen's expression remained resolute. "Prepare for Phase 3, she ordered, "and begin evacuation of the command center. All non-essential personnel to the emergency shelters." The 3 remaining Morcari warships approached the colony with murderous intent. Their earlier losses had clearly enraged them, causing them to abandon the precise hunting tactics in favor of overwhelming force. Energy weapons charged on their forward arrays, powerful enough to reduce the entire asteroid colony to molten slag. They found the remaining human forces waiting for them. A pitiful last stand of 12 ships arranged in a defensive formation around the main colony asteroid. The Morcari didn't hesitate, opening fire with a barrage that overwhelmed the shields of 3 human vessels immediately, destroying them in blinding flashes of energy. The surviving human ships returned fire, their weapons pitifully inadequate against the Morcari shields. It was massacre, exactly as the Morcari had expected from the beginning. What they didn't expect was Commander Chen's final gambit. They're fully committed to the attack, Chen observed from her new position aboard the last functional military vessel in the fleet, a small corvette named the Defiant. "Their sensors are focused on our ships and the colony. They're not watching their surroundings." "Approaching optimal position," the pilot reported. 30 seconds. Chen opened a channel to the remaining fleet. "All ships, commence Operation Firebreak. Give them everything you've got." The human vessels redoubled their attack, pouring weapons fire into the Morcari ships despite its ineffectiveness. It wasn't meant to damage, only to hold attention, to ensure the Morcari remained focused on the seemingly suicidal assault. Behind the Morcari warships, silent and unnoticed, 50 massive mining platforms were moving into position. For 3 weeks, engineers had modified them, stripping away everything except engines and power cores. Now those power cores were deliberately destabilized, building toward catastrophic failure. 20 seconds to critical, reported the engineer monitoring the platforms. 19, 18. Chen watched the countdown, her hand gripping the edge of her console. Everything depended on timing now, on the Morcari remaining focused on the colony for just a few seconds more. 15 seconds. 14. One of the Morcari ships suddenly began to turn, its sensors apparently detecting the approaching threat. "They've spotted the platforms," Rodriguez shouted. "Too late," Chen replied. "All ships, break off and jump. Now." The human vessels scattered, activating emergency jump drives to escape the coming devastation. The Defiant was the last to leave, holding position to ensure the success of the operation. 5 seconds. 4, 3. The Morcari ship completed its turn, energy weapons charging to destroy the approaching platforms. 2, 1. "Jump," Chen ordered. Space tore open around the Defiant as 50 power cores simultaneously reached critical mass behind them. The resulting explosion consumed the 3 Morcari warships in a blinding flash that temporarily outshone the system's sun itself. The aftermath was silent, as space battles always were. Debris floated where mighty warships had once been. Emergency beacons blinked forlornly among the wreckage, marking the locations where human crews awaited rescue. The Defiant had survived, though barely. Its jump had been incomplete when the explosion hit, damaging the ship severely and leaving it limping back to the colony on auxiliary power. In the corvette's small command center, Chen stared at the damage reports with a mixture of exhaustion and grim satisfaction. They had won. Somehow, against all odds, they had defeated an enemy that by all rights should have annihilated them. But the cost had been staggering. Over 2,000 dead, most of their fleet destroyed, the colony itself damaged by the backwash of the final explosion. And there was no guarantee the Morcari wouldn't send more ships once they discovered what had happened to their hunting fleet. "Signal from the colony," Rodriguez reported. Admiral Takahashi is requesting your presence as soon as we dock. Chen nodded wearily. There would be reports to file, plans to make for the colony's defense in case of future attacks. But for now, they had earned a moment of respite. Commander, Kowalski called from his damaged sensor station. I'm picking up something from the edge of the system. Multiple energy signatures. Chen's heart sank. Had they survived one Morcari fleet only to face another? Put it on screen, she ordered, bracing herself for the worst. The view screen flickered to life, showing a dozen ships approaching from the system's edge. But they weren't Morcari vessels. They were human, Earth Fleet warships, their hulls bearing the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force. They received our distress call, Rodriguez breathed, disbelief and hope mingling in his voice. Reinforcements actually came. Chen felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They weren't alone after all. Open a channel, she requested. When the connection was established, she straightened in her chair, summoning the last of her strength to make her report. This is Commander Eva Chen of the ESV Pathfinder. V advised, this system has been the site of first contact with a hostile alien species designated as the Morcari. We have eliminated an enemy fleet, but at severe cost. The colony is secure for now, but we have reason to believe more Morcari vessels may be en route. There was a brief pause before the reply came. Understood, Commander. This is Admiral Zhao of the Earth Fleet. We've received your data transmission about the Morcari. Fleet Command has declared a state of emergency across all colonies. You and your people have done the impossible, Commander. Now let us take it from here. Chen leaned back in her chair, allowing herself a moment of relief. The battle was over, but the war, humanity's first true interstellar war, was just beginning. As the Defiant limped toward the colony, Chen's thoughts turned to the ancient beacon that had started it all. The Morcari had placed it there as a trap, a way to identify new prey species worthy of their attention. They had expected fear, panic, easy victims. Instead, they had found humanity, adaptable, resourceful, and unwilling to accept defeat even when it seemed inevitable. The galaxy's deadliest hunters had finally met their match, and the stars themselves would never be the same. In the darkness of her cabin that night, Chen recorded a message to be sent to every human outpost and colony throughout explored space. It was brief, but it carried the weight of their hard-won knowledge. We are not alone, and we are not safe. But neither are we prey. The Morcari came hunting for victims, and instead found warriors. Remember the lessons of Artemis. Adapt, improvise, stand together. For we have awakened the galaxy's deadliest hunters, and only by becoming hunters ourselves will humanity survive what is to come.